Well, let me say again, good morning to all of you on this wonderful Wednesday morning. For those of you that may be joining us for the very first time, if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. So that you can get the notifications every time we come on. Tish H, good morning to you. Patrina Jones, God bless you, and good morning to you. The first part of our little session, we just play a little music, giving people time to come on, and we like to greet people the first thing in the morning. We're one big happy family, so if you haven't thrown up or thrown out a good morning or a greeting, you still have time to do so. The people that are participating in the chat room, they're participating the whole time that we're on. So if you don't greet me directly, you can greet the rest of the family, the rest of the group, our wonderful morning family. You know, again, I'm just so delighted that you all have tuned in with us, come online with us this morning. Matthew Payne, good morning. Alita McQuarrie, good morning. Amber Blaze, good morning to you as well. Don't forget to hit those subscribe buttons. And during the course of our time together, if you're appreciating what's taking place, what's going on, what you're receiving on this platform, don't forget to hit that like button, that thumbs up, if you will. It kind of lets everybody else know that something good is happening on this YouTube channel. My niece just checked in, D'Angela Robinson. Good morning to you, sweetheart. Again, the best way to advertise, if you will, is through word of mouth. And so we want as many people to know about what takes place each and every morning, Monday through Friday, around the 8 o'clock hour. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family members, tell other church members, because believe it or not, there are some church members that are still a bit disconnected and really don't know what's going on with Canaan Worship Center. And they need to know what's going on with Canaan Worship Center. I'm telling you, the Lord is really moving our ministry in a very positive direction, and some great things are on the horizon, and we are anticipating the blessings of the Lord to continuously flowing in the house and among the people of God, and you don't want to miss out on what God is doing in and through Canaan Worship Center. Donna Stevenson, good morning to you. Even if you're not a member of Canaan Worship Center, we just invite you to connect with us, because you too can be blessed. I look at it like this: we are all members of the body of Christ, and when we can share with one another and do all that we can to be a blessing to one another, it only enhances the kingdom, and it only makes things better. All of our lives are the better when we learn to be a blessing to one another and not be selfish and keep everything to ourselves. Minister Judy Diamond, good morning. Thank you for checking in. Christine Gordon, good morning to you. And so again, those of you that may not be a part of our church family, we yet welcome you, and we are delighted and even humbled that you chose to join us on this particular platform. Praise God for all of you. Let me, again, I want to do what I did last night before getting into what we're going to talk about this morning. I've been watching the events that have taken place over the last past 24 hours. T.R. Renee, good morning, daughter. God bless you. The verdict that came down in the case of Derek Chauvin, the police officer that kept his knee on the neck of George Floyd for more than 9 minutes, resulting in the demise of George Floyd. He was convicted on yesterday of all charges, convicted on all 3 charges that were brought up against him. And while we do not celebrate anyone having to be incarcerated, we are grateful that in some sense justice was served in terms of there being some retribution for another African-American male being taken away at the hands or at the end of the gun of police officer. Now, again, I'm not so colored. I'm not so much a person of color. I'm not trying to go back to that old term that they used to use referring to black people. That's not what I mean. But the lenses of my life are not so colored to where I cannot have compassion even on people who may have done something tremendously wrong. You know, I believe we need to pray for Derek Chauvin and pray for his family. I know he's got family. He's got people that he's connected to as well. And now he's going to have to go and serve a prison term away from his family and everything. Some of you might be saying, well, I don't feel sorry for him. It's not a matter of feeling sorry for him. It could be just a matter of having sympathy for the other lives that were affected by his actions. Because, when you get right down to it, his family are people too. And we don't want to throw everybody in the same basket and feel as though, well, they got what they had coming to them, because his family may very well be innocent bystanders in this whole process as well. Now I have to use the term may very well be, because, sometimes family members endorse the actions of their people simply because they're family, even though what their family member may have done was very, very, very wrong. And if you're trying to take the side of someone in your family who you know is wrong, then to some degree you're just as culpable or responsible as they are for whatever actions. I shared with you a few weeks ago about how our value systems are developed, and when they start to develop, and our value systems really start to develop at a very, very a young age. Our value systems are often set by the environments in which we have been raised, by the experiences of life that we've gone through ourselves, because we learn certain things from certain experiences, and those things become ingrained into our thinking. And our upbringing has a very, 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 it plays a very intricate part in the development of our value system. That's one of the reasons why the Bible is very, very clear when it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And that's the reason why we need to get to our children and our young people very, very early. And that brings to mind, I was thinking this morning how we as a society, we as a people have erased certain boundaries from our lives, and it has affected our children. And the reason why some of our children are the way they are is because of the boundaries that have been erased. It's because of the environments we are raising our children in. And I'm going to leave that for another day, another discussion, but I'm going to get into that one of these days, because there are certain boundaries that need to be restored within our society, within our culture. And since I'm here, just let me touch on this real quickly. I'm talking about boundaries that are set that include boundaries of courtesy, boundaries of that ensure that we respect one another, those kind of things. You might call me, and a lot of people might call me old-fashioned or traditional, but there are some principles, there are some old-fashioned principles and traditions that need to be restored for the sake of us surviving as a people. Because, we often talk about how the youth of today are our future of tomorrow, but the reality is the youth nowadays are coming on strong, and they're impacting our society in such a way that it really can't be denied. But the reality is there are a lot of things that are not so good coming out of this new way of thinking, which is primarily promoted and pushed by younger generations. Now, please don't take that for me as me saying that the younger generation of people are bad. I think some of them are very good. They're brilliant. They're very intelligent. I think some of them are a bit misguided, and they've lost any respect for boundaries that are set. And I believe a lot of these boundaries simply need to be reinstituted. They need to be reset. Now, how we're going to do it, I don't know, because to some degree we might be too far gone, because this generation that has come on behind us, hey, they're not listening to very much. And if they're the people of future influence, then just think about how their children are going to be once their children are coming along. I'm telling you, that's a whole lot for us to think about. One of these days, I'll just sit here and kind of unpack that. At least I'll do it from my perspective, and maybe some of you can kind of give your insight in the chat room while I'm doing that. But let's get to the topic of today. Let's get to the discussion of today. I want to inform some of you and remind others that delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. Now, allow that to just sink into your mind. Let it sink into your spirit. Let it get down. Let it resonate for a minute, because, there are too many people who, when there is a delay in some of the things that they desire to have happen, they begin to believe that the delay is actually denial. And that's not necessarily the case. Listen, the possibility of experiencing instant gratification has made the pursuits of life very frustrating for many of us. I mean, we think it's so wonderful that we can get just about everything instantaneously. And those of you that are a part of my generation that came up when I did, we saw some of the evolution of things changing rapidly. I mean, think about this. Think about this. You remember when you had to warm up food or cook food the old-fashioned way? Light a fire on the stove, turn on the oven, pop it in the oven, wait for it to reheat, or wait for it to fully cook. Sometimes dinner literally took hours because the process of cooking or preparing the food, you had to take your time and do it if you were going to do it right. Warming up food, it wasn't a matter of seconds back then. You had to wait some time. Sometimes it took your food a half hour to warm up based on what environment you were taking it out of at the time you get ready to reheat that food. You take it out of the refrigerator, it's cold through and through, and sometimes you would stick it in the oven and you would think, okay, that's long enough, only to find out when you dig into that dish, it's still cold in the middle, so right back into the oven it has to go. And you had to be creative when you did that. You had to make sure that you either covered it to the degree that it wouldn't just overcook while you were trying to reheat it, or whatever it was necessary to get it done. But then along came the microwave. And I believe most of us felt as though at the time that the microwave oven was the best invention ever. You can pop it in the microwave and warm it up instantaneously. Less than a minute, your food is piping hot and ready to eat, or for those of you that weren't very gifted in preparing meals in the first place, you would buy these dinners right out of the store that you can put in the microwave, and boom, let it cook for about 2.5 minutes, and voila, you've got family dinner for the night. Now, frankly, Personally, I'm not a fan of those kind of dinners. If that's what you have to do, you do your thing. But all of this stuff of instant gratification, it really, really, really spoiled us. I mean, think about this. I'm taking you way back. Remember a time where you got a busy signal if you were calling someone and they were on that phone? And you would have to call and call and call, and you're trying to reach someone at your house, and somebody's on the phone the whole time. And remember, you used to call the operator and tell them that you needed to put in an emergency call through, and that operator could go on that line and interrupt that person on that line at the time and tell them, hey, there's somebody that's trying to reach you, and you would tell them who you are, and they'd say yay or nay as to whether or not they were going to get off the phone. But then call waiting came along. Call waiting. Call wait. Can you remember when call waiting was first implemented? Do you remember how we thought that that was such an amazing invention? You know, wherein you're on the phone, all of a sudden you hear this tone, boop, and now you just push the little button on the top of the phone, and you would click over. You tell that person, hold on. Hold on. It used to be, it wasn't no holding on. No, we're going to finish this conversation. But then when call waiting was created, uh, uh, all of a sudden everything changed. You can push that button and go to the other phone call, and then you don't listen to how this thing is progressing. Then you had three-way calling, you know, instantaneous conference calling. Remember how you used to have to do, well, let me ask so-and-so this and I'll call you back. No, then you got to the point where let's just add them in. We'll add them in. We'll add them in, and we can all talk at the same time. All of these things were creating this environment of instant gratification, you know, and we became spoiled by this because we now live in a society where an instant gratification seems to be the norm. Many of us have totally abandoned the discipline of patience. We don't know how to be patient anymore. We feel as though we shouldn't have to be patient anymore. Okay, so what is patience? Y'all know how I do. I give you those Webster collegiate definitions. Patience, the capacity, habit, or fact of being patient. Okay, so what does it mean to be patient? Now, these definitions of patient are, I believe they're going to amaze you or probably even astonish you, because they amazed and astonished me as I begin to look at these definitions. Patient, bearing pains or trials calmly or without complaint. That's the first one that comes up. Bearing pains or trials calmly without complaint. The second one is manifesting forbearance under provocation or strain. Not hasty or impetuous. Steady despite opposition, difficulty, or adversity. You know? And then the last one, able or willing to bear a particular thing, you know, if you will. Did you hear all of those definitions? Now, what I find ironic about all of these definitions is that none of the definitions listed or mentioned here specifically uses the word wait or waiting. They somewhat allude to having the ability to wait, but they don't specifically or explicitly mention the word wait. Now, I believe that the word patience suggests the ability to wait while fighting the urge to abandon what you desire in lieu of moving on to the next thing. I believe a layman's understanding of patience is, ability to forbear or to remain steadfast, but it also includes waiting, the ability to learn how to wait and not just quickly abandon your desires. There are times when too many of us are too quick and all too ready to abandon certain dreams and move on to the next thing. Let me be honest with you. At one time, I was that person. I told you all a few weeks ago, I can get bored with a thing very, very, very quickly. If things aren't coming together as quickly as I think they should be, then there was a time, and I've matured from this, but there was a time I would say, hey, just forget it. Just forget it. Or if I knew that I had to eventually see that particular thing to the end, there were times that I would at least have to walk away from it and start to do something else. It's simply because I didn't possess that kind of patience with things and processes. Now, I want you to fully understand something else about me, though. I have a high level of patience and tolerance when it comes to dealing with people, because I put people in a different category than I put things. I put people in a different category than I do processes. I don't like processes that take a long time. Come on, let's get this done already. Let's move on to the next thing. One thing that used to really, 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 really irritate me was when working with a computer was as exciting as watching grass grow. Okay, why was that? Because y'all remember back in the day when computers were slow. They were slow. You'd have to sit there and wait for that thing to process and process and process. And, I can take you back to the time where one of my computers had that little hourglass that would come up on the screen when something was processing, and it would just flip itself over back and forth, back and forth. I got tired of watching that thing flip back and forth. And sometimes I would have to just get up and walk away. And I thought if I stayed away long enough, by the time I would get back, it will have done what I was waiting for it to do. And oftentimes I would leave and be gone for extended periods of time, only to come back to the computer and that little hourglass was still on the screen, flipping back and forth. I couldn't stand that. I couldn't take it. And so there have been times where I've just shut the computer off, walked away. I don't like being put on hold forever on a phone. I don't like that. I have very little patience for that. When you call into a place and this is really frustrating. How many of you have ever had this experience? You call into a place and you've been waiting literally on the phone for more than an hour. And you've got this recording playing. It's either music or somebody pops in there every now and then and say, "Thank you for your patience. We will be with you momentarily." At the time, all of our representatives are working with other customers, but we value you as a customer. So please continue to wait. Oh, frustrating. And you wait for an hour and a half, and finally you get a live voice. "Hello, this is so and so and so." "Well, yes, this is Tony Collins," and then all of a sudden you get disconnected, just out of nowhere. You've touched nothing, you've hit no buttons, and you just get disconnected. And now you got to start the process all over again. I don't enjoy those. I hate those processes. But the reality is that sometimes we have to hang on in there because of the expectations that we have concerning what we're trying to achieve or what we desire to achieve at the time. Sometimes I have to start all over again because the business that I'm trying to conduct is of such a serious nature that I just can't sweep it under the carpet or ignore it, you know? And so you got to hang on in there. You know, sometimes we are too quick to abandon things. Now, again, that urge to give up and abandon things, that feeling is created with the passing of too much time. If too much time elapses, too much time passes, then we come to the erroneous conclusion that maybe it's not going to happen. Listen, here's a problem. Whenever we have a dream or we have desires, we immediately put those dreams or desires, we put them on the clock. We put them from the time we have that dream or desire, it immediately goes on the clock. You haven't considered any of the details or intricacies concerning the dream or the desire, but yet you've put it on the clock. And for some of you, your clock is not good at keeping real time. Your mental and emotional clock ticks much too fast. You place unrealistic expectations on the time frame that you should realize your dreams and aspirations. You want everything to happen right now. You want the microwave effect. You want that instant gratification. And one of the reasons why we so desperately desire those things is because sometimes with our dreams and our aspirations, we are trying to play catch up. What do you mean, Bishop? In other words, I need this to happen fast so I can catch up with where I see so-and-so is. Because right now, they're way ahead of me. And the appearance, it looks as though that they realize their dreams and visions quick, fast, and in a hurry. But that's only from your perspective because you're on the outside looking in. You know, you had no time frame of expectation with regards to seeing their dreams and desires manifested. You know, if you were to talk to them, they would probably tell you that it seemed like it took forever for this to happen. And what may be a short window for you may have been a big window or a great time span for that individual who has actually endured the process. I'm telling you, waiting can be very frustrating. But here's what you got to understand. Whenever you place unrealistic time frames on your dreams and aspirations, you thereby place undue pressure on yourself. You run the risk of coming to the erroneous conclusion concerning how realistic your dreams and aspirations are. You arrive at this conclusion based on how long it has taken for these dreams and aspirations to manifest. Well, it ought to happen quicker than this. Something must be wrong. Maybe something's wrong with me. I don't know if this was realistic. I probably was out of my mind thinking that I could do this, that, or the other, or to think that that was going to happen for me. It's not that it's not going to happen. But the problem is, once again, you placed an unrealistic deadline on seeing your dreams and aspirations manifest for you. It's unrealistic. Now, I'm by no means suggesting that your dreams and aspirations should not be time specific. Sure, it's wonderful to set a goal and an expectation as to when you desire for this dream or these aspirations to come to pass. To some degree, you should set a deadline of meeting that expectation. But what I am saying is that your time frames should be realistic. They should be realistic. Absolutely. You got to stop and think about what it is you're desiring and really contemplate whether the time of your expectation, the timing for this thing to come to fruition, your expectations, are they really realistic? Let me give you an example that will likely get you to understanding where I'm coming from with this. It's like a woman who wants to have her baby 3 weeks after the baby is conceived. Now, I know some of you mothers are out there saying, ooh, that would be nice. Yeah, you might desire it, but it's an unrealistic desire. It's just not going to happen. You thinking like that, you're thinking in the realm of impossibility. There's not even enough time for the baby to fully develop. Unrealistic. Some of us make a habit of concluding that a delay in receiving what we desire or accomplishing what we desire to accomplish, we too quickly conclude that a delay is a denial. We really feel that way when we ask God for certain things and he does not immediately give us what we're asking for. You know, man, I've been praying about this and God hasn't given me this or that or the other. And man, we get so frustrated, or we become depressed, or we start to spiritually and religiously pout. You know, some of you lose your enthusiasm for worship when God is not answering you as quickly as you want him to. You know, when things are going pretty good, you might come into worship and give God a little worship, a little praise. You'll open your mouth a little bit, wave your hands occasionally, but send out a prayer request that you really desire to do, and God is not responding to you as quickly as you desire. Then you come to the church and you sit there and you pout. Listen, don't you know that people really can detect a change in your worship demeanor? You know, I wonder about people who can be here one week and then totally disconnected the next week. One of the things that I've learned to do, and it comes with spiritual maturity, it doesn't matter what I may be going through at any given time. When I walk into that sanctuary, I'm there to worship God. I'm there to give him my best praise. And again, case in point, you know, I know some of you may get tired of me talking about myself, but, you know, I'm just trying to let you all see how real this is. Many of you were shocked when you discovered that my daughter, Tia, was dealing with cancer. You were shocked. And you were shocked primarily because throughout that 3-year window that she was dealing with it, you never saw a change in my demeanor, particularly in worship. I didn't come in pouting. I didn't come in looking like I was having a pity party. I never sat in worship acting like I was upset with God. I didn't sit back in my chair and doing the why me, Lord? Why does this have to happen with my daughter? No, 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 no. I maintained my level of worship, and I was praying. I was seeking God the whole time. You know, I'm simply trying to tell you that it is possible. You can do it even when you're having some difficulties. And some of you are experiencing some things that are not nearly as severe as what I was experiencing at the time. But I never allowed my demeanor to change simply because I believed that God was going to do something to change that situation in our favor. And I trusted and believed God. And as we often conclude even now, he did. You know, it may not have been exactly the way we wanted him to, but he did change things in Tia's favor. Praise God. I believe that with all my heart, you know. And furthermore, I truly believe that God didn't do what he did to punish me. And even though there was times that we were praying and things weren't happening instantaneously, we never thought that the delays were a denial. But watch this. Even along the process, God did some great things. And we saw the hand of God move in that situation despite the circumstance. And we still found reason to praise God even while we were waiting for the manifestation of what we truly desired. I want you to understand something about our petitions through prayer. When we pray and ask God for certain things, there are three answers that God can give in response to our request. Okay? Those answers are yes, no, or wait. Yes, no, or wait. You know, back in the day, we used to sing a song in the Baptist church that was really theologically wrong. And the song would say, Jesus will never say no. Whenever you pray, let him have his way. Jesus will never say no. Yes, he will say no. He does say no. He says no sometimes because he needs to say no. No, every time he says, every time, not just sometimes. Every time he says no, it's because he needs to say no. And he's saying no for our own good. We only want to hear the yes. Now, each answer that God gives involves the timing of God and the sovereignty of God. What do you mean, Bishop? I'm glad you asked. God does things according to his timing. Okay, let that sink in. God does things according to his timing. That seems to be something that many Christians just can't get through to their heads or their hearts. God does things according to his timing. Again, many of us grew up in church where people would pray, the old saints would pray, or even now some of the young saints would pray this way because this is the way we were trained to pray. We would pray, and in the midst of our prayers, we would say, right now, Lord. Right now, Lord. As though we are ordering or demanding God to do something within the time frame of our expectation, but God doesn't work like that. He works according to his timing. And what I've discovered about God and his timing is always perfect. God is never off. He's never late. He's perfect in his timing because he's perfect in every way. And then with regards to his sovereignty, God does things the way he does simply because he's God. He has a right to do things the way he does. He has the right to respond to us the way he chooses to respond. We might as well get it in our hearts and in our heads that we will never be able to control God. We can't manipulate him. We can only seek him. But we do know this, and that is our faith moves God. God is moved by our faith. Now, get this in your mind. Get this in your spirit. All no's are not created equally. Every no is not created equally. Some no's are final and permanent. But then on the other hand, some no's are not forever. They are only temporary. But here's what they do. Those no's that are temporary start the clock on wait. Now you think about this. Again, that temporary no, it does one thing. It starts the clock on wait. The problem with some of us is that we can't take the no or the wait. You immediately assume that the delay indicates a denial. And that's not always the case. Sometimes the delay comes as the result of you really not yet being ready for what you're asking for. Have you ever thought about that? Sometimes you're just not ready. You think you're ready, but there are indicators that say you are not ready. There are some things you still need to learn. There's some areas in your life that still need to be developed. There's some maturing that yet needs to take place in your life. Sometimes you need to first gain an appreciation for where you presently are and what you presently have. Gain an appreciation for that. If you can't appreciate where you are, nor can you appreciate what you presently have, then it's likely you're not ready for the next thing or the next greater thing because you have not learned to appreciate certain things. Y'all laugh at me every time I tell my story about my hoopty, my first car. Yeah, it wasn't the best thing in the world. Busted seats, foam coming out of the top of the seats, AM radio that had no bass, a heater blower that didn't work, mismatched tires all around the car. I don't think I had two that were just alike. And the two main ones were bald. A vinyl top that had been ripped off that exposed all the rust on the top of the car. But that was my car. Nobody else had to really like it. It was my car. And I washed that thing like it was a Rolls Royce. I kept it clean like it was. Listen, let me tell y'all something. In my hoopty, I had nerve enough to tell people, you can't eat in my car. I know people would look at it and say, these busted vinyl seats and this non-playing radio and these mismatched wheels and tires, and you got nerve enough to say that I can't eat in your car. Oh my goodness. Some people probably thought the nerve of him, and some of them probably was saying, well, I don't want to ride in your old raggedy car anyway. Well, then walk. Apparently you needed a ride and I had one and you didn't. But so if you dislike my car that much, hey, take a hike. You know, but I appreciated that car. I appreciate it. I took care of that car to the best of my ability. I drove that car until it wouldn't run anymore. I did. But because I was so appreciative uh, for that car, I was thankful to God for that car. Um, since then, I have truly been blessed to be able to buy any car that I want to buy. That's not bragging. I'm just trying to give you a lesson there. Be thankful for what you have. I remember my first apartment, 1-bedroom apartment. You know, it wasn't the fanciest thing in the world, but it was nice to me, you know, and I took care of my apartment. You know, the Lord allowed me to buy a home. I took care of my home, and I thank God for my home. And at the time that I was in the apartment, at the time when I bought my first home, I never dreamed that I would literally be the one who would have a house built. I was thinking at the time, well, I'll never be able to afford anything like that. But the house that we're living in right now, First Lady and I were blessed to be able to have the house built the way we wanted it built. It's because we appreciate it. Now, again, I didn't jump right into that. I didn't start off on that level. And that's one of the issues that I have with some of these young people nowadays. They think they ought to start off in the penthouse. Well, when you start off in the penthouse, there's nowhere to go. Sometimes you got to learn how to appreciate where you are. You keep talking about, I need a new car, I need a new car. Well, you're not taking care of the one you got. Go change the oil. Quit spending up all your money to where you don't even have $40 to get a regular oil change. How about this? Wash that thing. Wash that car. Again, some of y'all are not appreciating this, but that's the reason why some blessings are denied or delayed rather, simply because you haven't matured to the degree that you need to mature. How can you be trusted with much if you haven't shown an appreciation for the little that you already have? How can you be trusted with greater responsibility when you're not handling the small responsibility that you presently have? We always talk about, well, the Lord ain't going to put no more on us than we can bear. He ain't going to give you no more than you can handle. I can tell you that for sure. I can tell you that for sure. And we demonstrate how we can handle things by our intentional stewardship. God is concerned about how we take care of the things that he entrusts to us. And if you can't or will not take care of what you already have, then it's highly unlikely that you'll be trusted with something even better. You know, some of you are saying, well, you know, I've been on my job for a long time and I keep getting passed up on promotion. You ought to thank God that you still have a job. You can't get to work on time consistently. You're a slacker when it comes to your performance. You take extra long breaks and extra long lunch hours. You sneak in and out and, you know, I mean, think about it. Think about it. Believe it or not, you are being observed all the time. And the very reason why you may not be getting that promotion is because you're simply not ready for it. So here's what you might need to do. Maybe you need to do some self-evaluation. Take a good hard look at yourself. Maybe there's a lesson in the delay. And I've discovered at least in my cases, many times when the Lord delayed something, it's because he had something that he had already deemed best for me, and he didn't want me to just jump in head first into something that he really had not ordained for me. And so while I'm wanting it right now, the Lord said, wait a minute, hold up, don't move too fast. Don't move too quickly. I've got something better for you. Let me tell y'all something, honestly. I recently, or not long ago, was negotiating a particular thing, and I almost got ready to sign some papers, and I believe the Lord allowed some havoc to be created because what I was about to sign, when I took a look at it at the time, there was something thrown in there that disturbed me. And I said, wait a minute, I need to look this over. In the meantime, a much better opportunity came along. A much better opportunity. If I had jumped in on that other thing too quickly, I would have missed out on this much better opportunity. So there was a delay. And at first I was getting frustrated by the delay because the delay was really on the part of the other people. But when we finally got to the point where they were ready to move forward, they threw something in there that didn't quite set well with me. And so sometimes God delays certain things for our own good, for our own protection. And that's what you got to understand. Just because there's delay, there doesn't mean that there's a denial. Maybe the delay is for the sake of not overwhelming you. Maybe what you're trying to get into is too much for you at the time. You need greater development. You need greater knowledge, greater understanding. And God is saying, yes, this is for you, but there are some things, there's some steps along the way that I want to make sure that you're getting what you need through this process. So when I place this thing in your hands, when I trust it into your care, you'll know how to treat it. You'll know how to handle it. You'll know how to respect it. You'll know how to appreciate it. Think about it. The thing that you must be determined to do, even in the midst of your wait, in the midst of the delay, is that you must be determined to remain focused. Remain focused on the main thing. Remain focused on what is most important. And then remain persistent. Persistent in your faith, persistent in your pursuit. You got to keep an open and positive mindset. Open to what God wants to do at any time. Because here's what I found out about God. God will shift. And maybe it's really not him shifting, but maybe he is shifting us. It is not really him that's shifting, but sometimes he wants to shift us. He wants to nudge us in another direction. You know, we might call it changing up midstream. Describe it however you want to describe it. But you got to keep your mind open and sensitive to the move of God. Then finally, don't give up on your dreams and aspirations. Don't give up. Why? Because as I started this whole thing off, I want to remind you simply of this, that a delay is not a denial. Hang in there. The only way delay becomes denial is when you deny yourself the opportunity to see the manifestation of what you desire because you're too impatient to wait on the timing of God. How about that? Can anybody say amen right there? Has that helped you? Does that give you a different perspective on the delay thing? Yeah. Hold fast to your dreams and aspirations. As long as your dreams and aspirations are not ungodly, as long as they are within the confines of God's will, you can yet live with expectations. And don't just sit around expecting without having to do anything. You've got to do your part. You got to put in the work. You must. You must become disciplined. There's some things that I'm working on right now that I know aren't necessarily going to be easy, and I'm going to have to put in the work, and I'm going to have to apply everything that I just shared with you. I'm going to have to fight that feeling of being impatient and wanting things to happen quick. I told you all from the very beginning, I don't like long, complicated processes. You know, let's get it done. Let's get it done right now. Yes, I can be impatient with those kind of things at times. You know, I'm being facetious, or I have been facetious when people have asked me, so like my staff, or maybe even now a contractor that's doing something for the church, in the formidable stages of a project, most of the time people will ask me, well, so Pastor, Bishop, when do you want this done? And my response is often, yesterday. I'm just telling y'all, I'm telling you all the truth. Yesterday. That's when I want it done. Again, transparency. Y'all, we know it. We all know that we're living in this day and time wherein we're doing most things by mail, shopping by mail, and all that kind of stuff. If there's something I want, and I can get it through Amazon, and Amazon say you can have it within the next 3 days, but I find it at a local store here, and it might be a few dollars higher at the store than it is through Amazon, I'm going to the store. I'm just telling y'all the truth. I ain't got time to be waiting no 3 days. I'm going to the store. Now, Amazon might tempt me if they say, well, we'll get it to you tomorrow within 24 hours. If it's going to be on my doorstep within 24 hours, I might consider letting Amazon send it to me. But if I got to wait some days and I can go to the store and get it now, guess where I'm going? Yep, might cost me a few more dollars, but I'm going to the store. Well, Bishop, that doesn't sound like you're being a good steward over your money. Yes, it is, because time is money too. And I might be losing money while I'm waiting on that product to come. I know some of y'all are thinking, Bishop, you something else. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. But again, I have to learn to exercise patience, start to discipline myself, because I understand that everything is not going to happen instantaneously. And I'm encouraging you to do so as well. Discipline yourself. Discipline yourself to learn how to wait, to be patient, to work through the process. And if you do that, you hang in there long enough, you'll see your dreams and aspirations come to pass. Well, again, this has been a blessing to you. Hit that like button. If you haven't subscribe to our channel. We're on here each and every morning, Monday through Friday, We come on about 8 o'clock a.m. And if you've got your notifications turned on, you'll receive the notification the minute I go live. It will send you a notification say he's on live, and always give people time to join us before I jump into what I want to share with you. You all have been a great audience today. Again, many of you have posted some very significant things in the chat room, and I really appreciate your interaction with one another and you sharing with one another. The whole idea is that iron sharpens iron, and as we are sharing with one another, we are helping one another to see things from different angles and different perspectives, and we all can learn from one another, because believe it or not, I'm learning some things from you all. You all are learning a lot about me that some of you probably didn't even know. You had no idea. But I share with you because I believe that my experiences, some of the things that I've gone through, I think I've lived life long enough to be able to share some of my experiences, and those experiences can be a blessing to other people so long as I'm willing to share. So when I do that, I'm not bragging, or I'm not trying to make everything totally centered on me, but I can only share. Well, let me put it like this. I share best out of my own experiences, because I know those experiences to be real and true. I don't have to try to make something up. But I've had enough experiences in life to where I can use my experiences to minister to other people. Well, my time is far spent. God bless you. Thank you again for joining us. Let's keep our nation in prayer. Let's keep our government in prayer. Let's pray for our families. Watch this. Let's pray for our law enforcement. The police officers that are out there serving to protect and serve. And y'all, let's not be those people that put them all in the same bag and come to the conclusion that all police officers are bad people. I'm not going to say that, because I have some wonderful family members who serve on the police force, and they're great people. They're great people, and I think I know them to be good people because they are born again believers. They have hearts that are going after God, and so I'm not going to put every police officer in the same basket, but I'm going to lift every last one of them up in prayer. Because, if y'all think it's bad with us having police officers, just imagine how bad it would be without us having them. So let's lift up law enforcement. Let's lift up our government in prayer. Let's lift up one another. Don't forget about your bishop. Don't forget about your first lady as you're lifting us up in prayer. Pray for one another. Pray for our church family. And I believe that the prayers of the righteous avails much. Well, until tomorrow morning, you all have a blessed and wonderful rest of the day.